So CNN is about to go from bad to worse. Let me go ahead and show you this article here because this explains it pretty well. New York Post says, here's what CNN's new boss has in store for the cable network. The new president of CNN is expected to bring back the cable news giant's hard news emphasis while steering away from opinion and commentary, according to a report. Chris Licht, the CBS executive who was lured away from the network and hired to replace Jeff Zucker as the new boss at CNN, believes that the network made a mistake by having its on-air talent freely give their opinions during news segments. Licht reportedly thought that the network did not serve its viewers by taking the bait during Donald Trump's presidency, according to the Washington Post. Trump would routinely bash CNN as fake news while labeling the press the enemy of the people, prompting network reporters such as Jim Acosta and other anchors to take a more defiant and opinionated tone in their coverage and commentary. Licht 50 is said to be planning to revert to the network's neutral approach. Now, that's the key word right there at the end, guys. Neutral approach. Here's the problem with that. Here's the problem with a neutral approach to the news. There's a huge difference between neutrality and objectivity. Neutrality is when you say everything is 50-50, everything is even. No matter what the question is, it's even. That's neutral. Neutrality is idiotic. Neutrality is like if you're debating what's true, creationism or evolution, and it's like, well, let's have on a creationist to argue their side and somebody who believes in evolution to argue their side. Is climate change happening? I don't know. Let's bring on some Exxon Mobil-funded hack to argue against a climate scientist, and we'll see. That's neutrality. Let's bring on a Republican to say this and a Democrat to say this, and we're going to present everything as if it's 50-50. It's lazy, sloppy thinking. Objectivity is telling the truth no matter where the truth takes you. So these idiots really believe, look, the problem is that we were too hard on Trump. No, the problem isn't that you were too hard on Trump. The problem is the way in which you were hard on Trump was stupid. You know, you would melt down over his Twitter feed. You would get angry when he said stuff like TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the trade deal, is going to rape us. You'd be like, I can't believe he said rape. Let's talk to a rape survivor and have them give their opinion on him using the word rape. This is the way you'd go after him. No, the problem wasn't that you were too hard on Trump. The problem is you weren't hard on him in an intelligent way. So, for example, his biggest legislative accomplishment was a tax cut bill where 83% of the benefit went to the top 1%. You guys didn't talk nearly as much about that as you should have. That's something where if you go into specifics, if you give people the breakdown, if you give people the numbers, that's an intelligent way to say, look, this tax plan is just not helping the average person. Now, in the neutrality approach, what do? You say, oh no, Republicans say it helps the working class, Democrats say it doesn't. But that's not true. It's neutral, but it's not true. What's true is to say it doesn't help the working class. Objectivity is telling the truth no matter what. Neutrality is always calling it 50-50. There's a giant, giant difference. Another example, if you take a neutral approach to Donald Trump ordering the assassination of a top Iranian commander who's on the ground fighting ISIS, if you do a neutral approach, you debate it. One person comes on and says, I think it's great that we did a wanton violation of international law and almost sparked a broader conflict in the region. I think it's great that we did an illegal attack. And the other person says, well, I don't think it's great. That's neutral. That's not, no, I don't want you to do that. I want you to be objective. If you're being objective, you would say, look, if any other country did what we just did, we'd be calling for regime change. You can't not have a declaration of war. It didn't go through Congress. You're not abiding by the Constitution. You're violating international law. And you just assassinated a top Iranian commander who was on the ground fighting ISIS and sparked, by the way, retaliatory attacks. That's bad. That's not good. You shouldn't have done that. That's a rogue state action. That's being objective about the situation. But they don't want to do that. So in other words, what CNN wants to do is go back to CNN original. But CNN original was trash. You know, listen, this philosophy already exists. The philosophy is CNN International. CNN International has the neutrality approach, and nobody watches CNN International, and nobody's going to watch regular CNN again too. Now, by the way, I am not defending the way the network works right now. Basically the network now is just MSNBC. It's just, you know, they're Democratic Party hacks. They don't have a left-wing bias because it's not ideological. They have a Democratic establishment bias, which is like, we are going to defend the establishment of the Democratic Party, all the big-name figures in the Democratic Party, the Hillary Clintons, the Joe Bidens. You know, that's their approach. That's their approach. So it's bad now, but it might even get worse. And the reason why I'd say it's worse is because you give people the misimpression that you are being objective when you do this. The neutrality is actually really damaging because there's a veneer of respectability there of like, maybe they are just telling me the truth. Maybe they are just calling balls and strikes. And it's like, no, they're not just calling balls and strikes. They're going to go 50-50 on everything. So, you know, if you're going 50, I mean, think about it, guys. You want to see neutrality on Stop the Steal and January 6th shit? Is that what you want to see? So when Trump goes out there and says the election was rigged and stolen, do you want somebody on CNN to be like, well, I don't know, let's debate it. Let's have somebody who argues that that is the case, and then let's have somebody who argues that isn't the case. Is that what you want to see? By the way, as a general rule, discourse and dialogue and debate and stuff, that's all fine and dandy. But the point is, there are certain cases where it's actually massively misleading to pretend like there's still a debate. You know? So I'd like truth to come first, and then everything else comes second. Have the open dialogue and disagreement, but make sure the facts come first. And they don't do that. They're not going to do that. Now they're Democratic Party hacks, and they're going to go back to being neutral hacks, which means they will establishment hump for both sides of the aisle. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.